We humans have this absolutely incredible capacity to invent worlds. I mean, think about it. On one hand, we craft these warm, comforting escapes, packed with fairy tales, romance, and magic. But then, almost inexplicably, we plunge straight into the adrenaline-pumping, anxiety-inducing depths of pure, unadulterated horror. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're exploring the fascinating duality of the human imagination. We're going to look at the extremes of the stories we tell ourselves and what they actually reveal about our deep-seated need for both absolute safety and absolute terror. Let's get right into it.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're journeying from the brightest romantic tales of enchantment and true love straight into the thrill of cinematic terror. From there, we'll explore cursed games, real-world myths, and finally ask ourselves, why do we actually crave both dreams and nightmares?
All right, starting us off, Section 1, Enchantment and True Love, exploring the comfort of fairy tales.
You know, it's fascinating how classic princess archetypes represent our deepest desires for purity, innocence, and those happily ever afters. Just look at how specific and honestly how gentle these traits are. You've got Cinderella, who remains perfectly kind-hearted despite terrible mistreatment. Snow White, whose greatest joys in life are literally just red flowers and small birds. Then there's Ariel, the blue-eyed mermaid fascinated by the human world and her own reflection. We've got Jasmine looking elegant in colorful silk, Belle who's totally captivated by red roses, and Aurora who is humble, sensitive, and, well, just loves to dance. These archetypes aren't random. They are specifically designed by our imaginations to be completely non-threatening. They're our anchors of hope.
And this boundless optimism, it completely extends to the heroes and the romances we invent. Take the story of Princess Seraphina and Prince Orion, for example. After using the Crystal of Radiance to shatter an evil sorceress's winter curse, Orion declares, "A wish that our love will endure like the eternal glow that bathes our kingdom." I mean, wow, it is pure, unfiltered optimism. It's the human imagination visualizing a reality where love literally conquers darkness and freezes time itself.
To really illustrate the pure innocence of these tales, let's talk about the number 20. Remember the classic story of the Princess and the Pea? A young woman caught in a storm claims to be royalty. So, to test her, the queen places a single tiny pea on a bedstead, and then what does she do? She piles on exactly 20 mattresses, and on top of that, 20 eider-down beds. The fact that the princess wakes up bruised, which somehow proves her royal sensitivity, is absolutely absurd. But you know what? It's exactly that harmless, magical absurdity that brings us so much comfort.
But here's where things take a massive turn. We transition completely away from magical helpers in True Love's Kiss, and we dive headfirst into our dark obsession with demonic entities and cursed isolation. Why do we flip that switch? Why in the world do we go from dreaming of a magical fairy godmother to literally obsessing over spirits that want to destroy us?
That brings us to Section 2, the thrill of cinematic terror and seeking the scare.
We clearly love to be scared, and we do it in a sheer variety of ways, from legendary feature-length classics to 3-minute short films that instantly spike our heart rates. Think about The Exorcist from 1973, dealing with demonic possession that quite literally terrified generations. Or The Shining in 1980, which is just pure psychological isolation and madness. Then you have The Conjuring, bringing us face-to-face with dark spirits. But the short films are just as wild. Take Lights Out, where a supernatural figure only exists in the darkness, perfectly tapping into our most primal childhood fears. Or The Black Hole, which proves you don't even need monsters. Just human greed and a strange anomaly can create terrifying consequences. We eagerly consume all of this, just to feel the rush of survival, safely from our couches, of course.
But for some, watching isn't enough. Section 3, Cursed Games and Rituals, Summoning the Paranormal.
Because apparently simply watching a horror movie doesn't cut it for some people, we've actually created literal instruction manuals to summon the paranormal into our physical living spaces. Just consider the absolute dread of the elevator game. To play, you have to find an empty 10-story building and press a very specific sequence of floors. 4, 2, 6, 10, and then 5. The absolute golden rule: when the doors open on the 5th floor and a girl enters, you are strictly forbidden from looking at her. You then ascend to floor 10 to enter a dark, quote-unquote, other world. Survivors of this ritual, like a boy named Alex who heavily documented his experience, report lifelong psychological trauma. We're talking endless hallucinations, hearing a baby crying, and the sound of a window tapping forever. It's basically a game designed entirely around self-inflicted psychological torture.
And if that wasn't enough, there's the Midnight Game. Derived from ancient pagan punishments, this ritual requires you to invite a spirit into your home by knocking on a wooden door exactly 12 times just before midnight. You then have to walk around in the dark with a single lit black candle. If the flame goes out, you have exactly 10 seconds to relight it. If you fail, you must frantically draw a circle of salt around yourself and stay perfectly still inside it until exactly 3:33 a.m. It really shows you exactly how far some people will go to invite a literal demonic presence into their homes, all for the sheer thrill of surviving the night.
Which bleeds into our next topic, Section 4, Real Encounters and Myths, when nightmares bleed into reality.
Sometimes, this horror totally transcends fictional games and bridges into cultural myths and terrifying real-world accounts, completely blending Eastern and Western fears. Let's look at how a totally innocent situation can descend into a cultural nightmare. Take the documented account of a man named Muhammad traveling to Asyut in Egypt. At 7 p.m., his car breaks down on a dark road. By 8 p.m., he's violently attacked, his hands scratched by something he cannot see. An hour later, a stranger named Azam appears out of nowhere, fixes the car instantly, and invites Muhammad to a local wedding. But by 10 p.m., Muhammad notices the wedding music sounds unnatural, deeply unsettling. And then at 11 p.m., the horror peaks. The wedding guests suddenly drop their clothes, transforming into hairy jinn with black animal legs. Muhammad faints from the shock, and at dawn, he wakes up entirely alone in a graveyard 8 kilometers away from his car. It is this perfect, terrifying blend of folklore and absolute isolation.
Now, I want you to quickly think back to Prince Orion's beautiful wish for eternal love from earlier. Hold that thought, and sharply contrast it with this absolutely chilling threat. If you don't leave this hotel, you will all die. This wasn't some magical prince. This was delivered by a menacing entity holding a bloody axe in a chilling account of a family vacation gone unbelievably wrong. This is known as the Nightmare of Room 88. Wissam's family arrives at a remote forest hotel. Almost immediately on night 1, Wissam spots a smiling man in black just watching him from outside. By night 2, he has that terrifying dream with the axe-wielding entity warning him to leave. The psychological dread really ramps up on day 2 when his little brother Kareem starts sleepwalking and conversing with unseen figures in the garden. Driven by this morbid curiosity on day 3, Wissam investigates a giant hollow tree in the woods. He encounters the entity, hears a deafening scream, and passes out cold. When he finally wakes up on day 4 and goes straight to the police, he learns his family has completely vanished. And get this, the hotel they were supposedly staying in had actually been abandoned for 3 years. It's a total psychological nightmare, ending in the most unbelievable isolation and loss.
So what does this all mean? Section 5, Dreams or Nightmares, the Human Imagination.
When you step back and look at it, our storytelling duality is basically split right down the middle. Roughly 50% of our myths focus on comfort, romance, and magical escapes, while the other 50% focus heavily on terror, adrenaline, and supernatural dread. This 50-50 balance actually reveals something super profound about the human condition. We desperately need the light to give us hope, to reassure us that kindness and love can actually conquer all. But equally, we need the dark. We need it to test our courage, to safely process our real-world anxieties, and honestly just to make us feel alive.
So, I'm going to leave you with this question to ponder today. When it comes down to it, what is your ultimate preference when you engage with the extreme ends of human imagination? Do you naturally lean toward the safety, warmth, and predictability of a fairy tale ending? Or are you irresistibly drawn to the pulse-pounding, edge-of-your-seat thrill of a horror survival story? Think about what your choice says about you. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.